let me add my welcome to the Tugboat Institute and Sun Valley. It's not often I'm in this room and I can't see that mountain that's right behind me. It's one thing in Sun Valley, you'll never find anybody who asks the question, where's the mountain? It dominates the heart and soul of this community. A couple of other things you will not hear if you live here is, I always have to stand in line at a lift line, or I'm always waiting in the lift line to ski. Keep that a secret. We don't want other people to know that. And you never complain about the weather. Maybe today was a bit of an exception, but the weather is always great here. Sun Valley didn't get its name because it's raining all the time. Great place to work, live, and play. So I'm Dennis Madsen. I spent my entire working career, and I was fortunate. I was lucky, just as Bob was lucky. I wasn't born into the business of REI, but I was so fortunate when I was a high school student to find REI. When I talked to Dave about REI and I learned more about the Tugboat Institute, it was clear to me there was a lot of similarities between what a co-op is and how it operates and what an aspiring Evergreen company is and how it works. And I want to take you on a journey through what a co-op is. Many of you probably have heard of co-ops, but they're kind of this amorphous thing. So what is it? How does it work? How is it different than my organization? I only have 20 minutes, so I'm going to take you through 80 years of history as fast as I can. But as I reflect back, as I consider what the Tugboat Institute is about, the 7 principles you have and that you operate with, REI's principles are pretty similar, and I'd like to highlight 4 of those, and you'll get it. Our first principle that has created 80 years of success for REI is purpose, having a laser-like focus on why we're in business. To answer that question, why, is job one, and has been job one for REI in all of the decades that we've been in business. Second, a focus on people, and you're going to hear some themes develop throughout the day. I heard Bob talk about people. It is so important. Those 2 things, purpose and people, have got to be the horse before the cart. The 2 other principles that are just laser-like focused at REI are growth and profit. I mean, those are kind of obvious, but in some co-ops, they stumble because they lose sight of the fact they have to grow. So it's those 4 things in that order that I want to talk more about with you all this morning. I don't have time to go through our 7 principles, which are similar to your 7 principles, but I want to highlight 2 of these and talk more about them because I think they are the essence of what's different about a co-op from all your organizations. And it is point number 2, democratic member control, and 3, membership economic participation. Now, when I was the CEO of REI, I would often get a call from a private equity firm, and they would always ask me, so tell me more about this company, and we'd really like to invest in your business. We think it's a great brand, a great product, and we'd like to make some money. And we've got something, we'll invest in your company. I would sit down and talk to them, and when I explained how a co-op works, I never heard from them again because there isn't an opportunity to make money in a co-op. We're democratically controlled by our members. We have 6.3 million active members. Each one of them is an owner with the same vote as the other 6 million members. So it's democratically controlled, very flat organization, and the profits go back to the member that buys products and services from us. So there is no way to aggregate profit or aggregate control. It is it's kind of a socialistic kind of a concept embedded in a capitalistic system. So those are the 2 important dimensions to why a co-op's different than your private or publicly held company. Now I want to get into purpose and values for a minute because that is our North Star and what's generated 80 years of success for REI. Like all good startups, Lloyd and Mary Anderson, pictured here, started their company in their home in West Seattle. It was a place they ordered products, they warehoused products, they fulfilled customer orders, and they were the bank. And I don't want to say that co-ops are an easy way for any of you to operate a business, because what Lloyd and Mary did was they provided the capital at no cost to the company for probably 10 to 15 years. As you all know, cash flow goes up and down, and you've got to pay the bills, you've got to pay employees, you've got to pay vendors. All those things happen. And they let us use their bank account to smooth those things out. And they did not take a share of the company any more than any other member. They were members 1 and 2. However, the capital they provided did not give them any more of a vote in where the company went. So their idea was to create access to great product. Now this is, in all of our businesses, whether it was that little red wagon, this is the product that started REI. It was an ice axe. Lloyd Anderson in Seattle could not find, and this was my ice axe. I bought it from REI back in 1966. Probably doesn't look like the ice axes you all, if those of you who are climbers, they're a lot smaller than this and they're a lot different. But this is product number 1, and it's what started REI. Lloyd was frustrated. He could not find a quality ice axe that was affordable anywhere in the city of Seattle. So being Lloyd, he drilled down, he found out where this product came from, and it came from Europe. He found out what that cost from the source, from the manufacturer, and was amazed that in Seattle that would cost 20 times what it cost to produce in Europe. So he got the Europeans to sell directly to him and cut the middlemen out, because he had a great disdain for middlemen. So he sourced the product, brought it into the country, and sold it to his friends and climbing friends in the city of Seattle, and that's how REI got started. He chose the co-op form of business because he, again, wasn't in this business to make money. He was in the business of providing great products to his friends and supporting the climbing community. So there was an altruistic side to Lloyd and Mary, that they simply wanted to create this organization that was there to support community. Now our core purpose, we spent some time, just as Radio Flyer did, trying to really get very crystal clear about what that North Star was that was going to drive REI's growth and profit. And it's to inspire, educate, and outfit for a lifetime of outdoor adventure and stewardship. And while these are words that were crafted in the last 10 years or so, I think if Lloyd and Mary were here today, they would look at that and say, yeah, that's what we had in mind when we started this company. They didn't articulate it like that, and culture and values have a way of coming out of the ground from the founding of an organization. Sometimes they're not articulated, but this is identical, I'm sure, to what Lloyd and Mary had in mind when they started REI so many years ago. Now, oftentimes, organizations who lose sight of that, of what their North Star is, will end up wandering. We didn't do that because we kept this front and center year after year after year. Now, we were back through my career at REI, we had a lot of very, very strong competitors. Eddie Bauer, Land's End, LL Bean, the North Face, Patagonia, Abercrombie and Fitch, Sport Chalet. There were dozens of very good competitors in this outdoor recreation space. Some of them succeeded quite well, as REI did. Patagonia, the North Face, to name two that have weathered the ups and downs of the marketplace over time because they knew who they were, what they stood for, and where they were going. So they didn't put the cart before the horse. Others, Eddie Bauer, struggled with ownership and leadership, wandered a little bit. They're trying to come back now, but they followed that almighty growth opportunity instead of really pausing for a minute and figuring out how they fit within the larger retail scene. Abercrombie and Fitch, if you didn't know this, they were a sporting goods company back in the day. They sold fishing and hunting gear. How they got to teen apparel is just, it blows me away that you could end up now being a preeminent, although they're not preeminent anymore, teen apparel company. So job one, keeping your eye on who you are and what that North Star is for your company. In 1966, I walked through the front doors of REI. I was a high school student. And I interviewed with Lloyd and Mary Anderson, the founders, Jim Whitaker, who had just climbed Mount Everest, and he was managing the company at the time, and several of the Anderson family. They offered me a job and wanted me to stock shelves, and they were going to pay me $1.25 an hour to do that. Coincidentally, I had a job offer to work for a manufacturing plant in South Seattle, making $2.50 an hour. Twice as much. I chose REI, a lot of it because it was great gear and it was a cool company. But I sensed there was something different about their culture. You know, the people were energized. It was like an extended family, if you will. They were committed to a purpose, a higher purpose than simply a job, and it felt different to me. And I couldn't describe it, but I could feel it. As the years went on and I got a chance to know REI better and move through the organization, it became clear to me that, you know, it's no surprise that we have been recognized as a 100 best company to work for all 20 years that the Fortune magazine has published this 100 best companies to work for. And a lot of that is embedded in the culture and the values of the organization. I'm certainly a living example of that. When I started in 1966, there were 40 employees in the organization doing $1.8 million. REI provided the opportunity for anybody working in the organization to grow with it. We have this ethic that you start on the sales floor, you start in the back room, the stock room, or in the mail order operation. You learn the business, you get comfortable with the culture, and then you're provided opportunities to grow and be developed and then be promoted. So there's this sense that you're going to be recognized, you're going to be given the opportunity as the company grows to have that opportunity to grow. And of course, all the other kinds of things that good companies do today. Back in the 60s, REI had a profit sharing plan. We had retirement plans for retail employees that were not common back in that day. Health insurance for all employees, both part-time and full-time. Generous vacation packages, sabbaticals, all those kinds of things. And it's a very egalitarian type of organization where everybody talks to everybody. In fact, probably the best recent example that some of you may have heard of is an employee suggested, as we were trying to figure out, now how do we stand out in this confused marketplace? Well, perhaps we should close the day after Thanksgiving. Now, for those of you in retail, closing a store on one of the busiest shopping days of the year might sound a little crazy, and I have to admit that we all thought it was. But as we sat and thought about who we were as a company and what our core purpose is, and it isn't necessarily selling products, it's supporting a community, getting people in the outdoors to enjoy their activity, enjoy their family, we decided to close the day after Thanksgiving, providing our associates times with their family where they can all go out and enjoy an outdoor experience or outdoor activity. And it also put the focus back on the customer. It's not just about buying stuff, it's about going out and having a good time. There wasn't any other company who had a set of values that could credibly done or made that kind of statement, but REI it certainly was a marketing statement, but it was true to who we were as a company. It matched our values and our core purpose. And employees really, really were engaged in that. So purpose and team, and then on to growth. And growth plays a very important part. So how and why did REI go from one store to 147 stores, and this year, closing out last year at almost $2.6 billion in volume? Growth was never something we set out to accomplish at REI. We simply wanted to be the best, and it wasn't about being the biggest. But we did realize, as many co-ops didn't, that no growth is not an option. We have to grow, because if we don't grow, we don't have that margin of expense dollars to invest in stores, to invest in training for our team, providing opportunities for team members to be promoted, all of those things that growth provides. But it's modest growth, it's not fast growth. And if you did a line from one store in 1938 to 147 stores today, you would see that it was a fairly constant, gradual, year-over-year, steady climb from 1938 to 2016. And that was done because we knew we could afford to do that. We'd have the little bit of dollars to spend and invest, but we weren't going to have to go out and ask for other people's money. Other people's money always comes with strings attached to it. We knew that, so we paced ourselves so that out of internally generated cash flow and retained earnings, we could continue to finance this on our own and be masters and controllers of our own destiny. But then I did mention outside investors could not make money off of us, so that we really didn't have that option. We had to be very careful and prudent. Now, I'm not saying we didn't have bumps along the way. We did things wrong, but we got out of them very fast. We opened into product categories that we shouldn't have been in. Exercise equipment. We're an outdoor company. Our customers didn't want to buy their treadmills from REI. We were in tennis. We were in racquetball. We sold things that just didn't make sense. But then every once in a while we would do something that worked and did make sense and was part of our core. And so our customers kept us focused and pointed in the right direction. We opened in Japan, didn't work, got out. So because we are thinly capitalized, we could not hang on to things that weren't working. We had to have the discipline and move on. All of you are probably operate your businesses on the left side of this slide. You've got 4 constituencies. You've got owners, customers, team members, and community. At REI, we collapse owners and customers into one bucket, and it really simplifies our business operation. We don't have a stream of profits going outside the company because our owner is our customer. So really, when our profits go back to our owners in the form of that patronage dividend, they're really staying in the REI ecosystem, if you will. Nobody's making any money. You're getting a discount on your purchase for all intents and purposes. So that works really well. The other thing that being a co-op does for us is we're governed by a board just like a publicly traded company is. Our board members, there's 12 independent directors that are the ultimate decision makers at REI. I, as the CEO, reported to and was accountable to those directors, so it provided that solid foundation of governance and direction that prevented management or any one person from getting too much control. The CEO and the chair are split. They've always been split, so I, as the CEO, didn't hold 2 seats and didn't have disproportionate control over where the organization was going. You know, it's been 80 years since Lloyd and Mary began this journey of REI as an evergreen company. It's there, and they've left a strong legacy. The way they put the thing together, the people they hired, and their work ethic, I think, are a testament to the ability of an evergreen company to weather the ups and downs of the economy and truly work for the long haul. Now, I've had to rush through this a little bit faster than I'd like. I'm going to be out in Adams Gulch hiking with some of you today, and I'd be happy to talk to any of you along that hike, or you've got my contact information, and maybe more clearly explain what a co-op is and how it might work for your company. So I thank you for this opportunity to share the REI story.